But the whole idea of building out an ontology, Mike, is absolutely perfect. That's where we teach people to start. You start with your ontology, you go to your taxonomy, right? Because there are different perspectives on the data. You identify what those business terms are. You tie those terms to the processes surrounding those terms, and then you tie them to the elements, because from the process, you can find the actual data element that represents that key, if you think
Yep.
about it. We get the business keys from a lot of different sources, but that's one way to do it. And then you're tracking all of that, and you begin to see as data moves through the enterprise, through these different systems, and you can track it. So it gives a great view. It also, what you're touching on, if I talk about that a little bit more, is one of the benefits of a data vault is that it's not just a reporting out for the business, your standard, BI reports and analytics, right? In a data vault, one thing that is critical is that on your outcome, in your information delivery layer, you have a feedback loop. And that feedback loop goes back to the organization. So one of the benefits of Data Vault is not just this analytic capability, but it's also the ability to show the business where their processes are broken, right? Because one of the reasons data warehouses have failed, we went to data lakes, now they're failing, right? No big surprise there, right? Because nothing's changed in the methodology. It's the business says, give me that easy button. Oh, I'm just going to take, you guys can't work fast enough in IT. I'm just going to throw all this into an S3 bucket, problem solved, go report on the data, right? There's no governance. There's no cataloging. There's no understanding of the data, right? And so you just throw it in a bucket and, problem solved. No, not quite. It's the same problem, right? So the thing is with that is you end up with technical debt, right? Because what happens is you still are collecting the same garbage from the source systems, right? And so what happens, the business says, okay, IT, give me all the data, throw it in a data lake, and then, I want you to fix all these data problems. Well, first of all, you will need to report back to the business when you find garbage data, because that should be an indicator of one of two things. You have a broken source system process, because that garbage should never be able to flow through, right? Or you need training in your functional areas on how to get the data. It's one of two things, honestly. And so how does a business know that? How can we talk about continuous improvement when all of the garbage has to flow down to the warehouse, and then they tell the IT teams, fix the data? The data is an indicator, it's a symptom of a larger problem. And so we talk about a feedback loop, and from the feedback loop in Data Vault, we have things called error marks and metrics vaults, right? They're optional components of the Data Vault, but basically they're capturing and tracking all the errors. How many teams filter out null business keys? Well, that's a null record. I'm not gonna pull that into data warehouse. Really, that's important, because if my source system is passing data that records that have a null key on them, you have a huge problem, because the UI on the front end of that source system isn't going to ever pull that data back. And there's this idea, the business says, my data looks like this, and IT grabs all the data, and we're like, nope, the data really looks like this, right? So the enterprise is hemorrhaging cost because they keep pushing the cost of maintaining that data down to the warehouse, because it's like, you guys, you ever watch Galaxy Quest? Are you familiar with the movie Galaxy Quest?
Oh, like the Star Trek parody.
Great movie, because, at one point they're like, they're talking to, help us, Commander, we need your help, right? They're sort of, they're desperate, and what it is that's what happens in our data warehousing projects. The business says, you fix the data. We are the last bastion before the data is actually consumed, in an outcome by the consumers, right? And so all this technical debt falls on on the data warehouse team. And oh, by the way, it happens over and over again because it's never corrected at the source. So that feedback loop that comes out of information delivery layer is a total quality management aspect. It's part of master data aspect, right? And we loop that back to the source system, to the business, and say, you need to fix this data. You either need to train your teams or you have a broken process. You are hemorrhaging revenue through this system right now because it's being paid for. And what happens is they come back and they say, data warehouse is too expensive, it takes too long, and we're going to greenfield it and start all over again. And the problem in often case is the fact that the source systems are broken, they're not corrected, and the business keeps pushing that technical debt downstream on the IT department. If you can provide that feedback and they start cleaning that up, the quality overall, right, inside the warehouse goes up. But guess what? You have a continuous improvement for the enterprise overall. When their data begins to reflect properly what it should, they are more efficient, right? They're not. So it's actually a beautiful feedback loop, and that extends even to data science.